Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Avengers issue 31. And this was a crazy issue. I was not expecting them to go as full force into this whole thing of Tony being in 1 million BC as they did here. Now, my biggest kind of complaint with this is timeline wise of how this all fits in with like Iron Man 2020 and that Tony, the normal, usual place that Tony is in with the Avengers, because we've also got that in the Thor. My only issue is the continuity of everything going on, not really the content, because the content is intriguing because of what we learn in this issue. So, we begin the issue seeing pretty much a 9-year-old Tony Stark trying to test out his X-ray contact lenses, and he sees that his parents are having like a satanic, weird ass party with other like rich people. Seeing some of them talk about how, what do you have to offer the master of the house? People are like, flesh and blood. It's like, yeah, you kind of got that. So it's like, oh, maybe souls and everything. And he gets like found out by one of the guard people, and he sees this dude that looks like the devil. It's like, and he freaks out, understandably. And we see that Tony's talking about all the different kinds of like isolating factors he's got: being rich, being alone, being a kid, and being super smart and everything, and how that kind of affects him. So then we see him dealing with like this saber-toothed monster kind of thing and blasting its head off, and his armor's really messed up. He's got this timeline of things that he's recorded on a cave wall, and then he starts like telling us about kind of like what happened. He got shot back. The million BC Avengers pretty much wipe his ass and just like take him out, and he's like, what the hell is going on? And then the Phoenix like talks with him telepathically, being like, okay, listen, we didn't call you here, but this is a trial you got to do alone, and just remember the face of the devil, as she then blasts him towards the cave. So of course his armor is pretty like messed up at this point, but not to the point that we'd seen as he's blasting the saber-toothed beast. So we see that like these series of events start happening. He is first this woman and this Grog is like offered up to him, and that happened for about a week as like more women and more Grog was popping up, and he's like, no, I don't want that. He's like, at first I'm like, what the hell's going on? He's essentially trying to pretty much stop butterfly effect and like changing the past too drastically. Well, then it amps up, and we've got guys with clubs and rocks with the Grog as well, and he like beats their ass for like 3 weeks. And then we see that another tactic is changed, and he's like, okay, he's running out of vibranium batteries, and he's kind of talking to his helmet, but then his helmet starts answering him, and it's Mephisto's a snake. And they're like, listen, I think you kind of misunderstand what's going on here. I'm not tempting you. I like want to buy something. I want to buy your soul. It's like, why is Mephisto so interested in Tony's soul? So I'm like, okay, that's an interesting thing that will hopefully be a big kind of tie with what's going on with Mephisto throughout all these different kind of books. I kind of like that Mephisto. It's interesting that they're using Mephisto the devil as a kind of bigger kind of villain going around, and I hope that kind of amps up a little bit, because he is an interesting one when utilized kind of like this. And Tony's like, you know what? Screw you. And he of course starts mentioning his father and stuff like that, and he then beats it to death with his helmet. Like, yeah, screw that crap. Well, the next kind of temptation that Mephisto sends is an Infinity Stone powered gorilla, the same one that we had seen previously with the Power Stone. And he's like, I don't know what that was tempting me for, except wanting to die. And pretty much all the rest of his armor and stuff is pretty much screwed over, and he's pretty much sees that all these snakes are coming, and he needs an armor, because he's like, I love his comments of like, oh god, it's always a cave. And he sees the ice. He's like, fine, alright, I got this. Iron Man's not the suit, I'm Iron Man. And we see that he builds himself an ice suit that he is able to use the circuitry for to actually use. And I know that sounds stupid, but only Tony Stark would be able to kind of like make that work, because that's just kind of the ingenuity he takes. He takes these impossible kind of things and does this. We also see that he's like ruminating on himself on like he was pretty much an atheist in the womb. He's never really believed in like fairy sky fathers and all that kind of stuff, as he puts it. Even Thor was like, well, the thing is, you don't believe in anything greater than yourself. even if, like, that's Thor standing next to him with lightning crackling and smelling of meat. But he says that he always believed in the devil, and that's why he would always build, like, armor to kind of protect himself and everything. So he's taking on the snakes. But then, of course, we see that Mephisto pops up as Howard, and it gets really crazy. He's like, no, screw you. That is the wrong thing to try and tempt me with, as he's trying to kill him, pretty much. He's like, nah, adoptive father, whatever, and then pretty much lays on the line that Mephisto says that he is Tony's father. Now, granted, I understand Mephisto does all these kind of things, does like to trick people and everything, but sometimes Mephisto uses the truth, so I'm intrigued to see if this is the case. Granted, we have really had Tony's origins being changed up a lot over the years. With at first, we had that he was the son of Howard and Maria. Then we got the information that he was actually adopted by them, and that, of course, we had Amanda and a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent getting together with a Hydra agent. Now, we haven't gotten too much more on the Hydra agent front, so this could technically be true, but it'll be interesting to see what that kind of changes up, if it changes anything up at all. But as he's fighting Tony, Tony's like, how do you know all this stuff? He's like, oh, you got a freaking infinity, you've got the time stone. All right. And they're kind of back and forth. Tony isn't really doing that well because, of course, Mephisto's got the ability to use fire and hellfire, and Tony's in a suit of ice armor. Ugh. As we see that the Million BC Avengers are like looking on and being like, should we help him or whatnot? And the Sorcerer Supreme of that time is like, hey, listen, there always has to be a Tony Stark in all the realities. It's gotta be. So it's like, okay, Tony's important, really important throughout all the realities. And they're like, so we can't help him. He's got to do this thing alone. So Tony's Hail Mary play is to use the last of his power, amp it up. It pretty much breaks his armor, but he shoots it at the time stone and gets sucked back into this vortex of time to get back to his time frame. But in it, he sees all these different kind of visions of, like, Carol's head on fire, melting, Cap shooting some green goo into his eye, girls with hammers, I think referencing All-Father Thor's granddaughters, Starbrand baby, Wolverine doing some weird stuff, and he's like, I don't know. But we get to the end, and we see, I really like the art style at the end. I mean, granted, I love the art style throughout all the different things, because it does delineate the portions very well, and it kind of fits the styles of everything, but I really like the one at the end, because we've got Tony in this kind of, like, more realistic kind of art style, and the armor just looks really nice, and I hadn't really seen that armor before, or at least that configuration, and he pretty much goes up to Mephisto in Vegas and tells him to kiss his iron ass as he flies away. And then Mephisto is talking with this other person that we don't know at the moment, saying, like, listen, because they're like, why would you do that? That sounds like a stupid idea to send him back in time. Why'd you do this? And Mephisto's like, I achieved my goal. I spread fear and doubt within him, and that'll ripple out throughout the rest of it, throughout all of existence. And sadly, there must always be an Iron Man. He's like, yeah, I kind of know about that. And then we see that it's Howard talking to him. So Arno bringing back the Stark seems to be a pretty bad play on his part. He's like, yeah, I know how to make them, and I know how to break them. And saying, hell, Mephisto. And it's like, interesting. We'll have to see how this goes and what this kind of does in the Avengers, as well as throughout any kind of other comic books as well. I know we've got Empire coming up, but I hope that they do some interesting things with this, because I like the intrigue, and, like, granted, Tony is one of my favorite Marvel characters. Granted, I like the big three all, but this is an interesting story that I hope that they delve into more, and we see more of what goes on. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, Tony kind of centric, and dealing with Mephisto, you don't usually see that much going on. I'm like, oh, let's kind of see how this goes. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.